Hello everyone, my name is Noreen. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is part of a three-part series where I take you inside the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Calgary. In the first part, you will see my conversation with the Dean of the Faculty of Social Work, where we discuss the vision of the faculty and opportunities for students. In the second part, the Dean takes us on a tour of the faculty spaces, giving you a feel of the environment where students learn and connect. And in the third part, I sit down with a PhD student to hear about his journey in social work research and studies. Whether you are thinking of applying to social work at the University of Calgary or just curious about the program and campus, I hope these videos gives you a helpful glimpse. So let's meet Ellen Perrault, the Dean of the Social Work faculty, and hear her insights about the faculty and its programs.
Noreen, I'm the Dean in the Faculty of Social Work at the University of Calgary, and I'm really pleased that you're interested in finding out more about the social work programs that we offer. We're the largest Faculty of Social Work in Canada, and we have almost 1,100 students. We have about 600 BSW, 450 MSW, and about 25 PhD students. And so we're very proud of our faculty, our staff, and our students. And I think we're known more as an entrepreneurial, kind of innovative school. We're always trying to be relevant and future focused and really making sure our students right now are ready for what the world has to offer when they're out working in the field after their degree. As a faculty, we're trying to model the way that we can do really reciprocal, respectful, community-based research, where our researchers go out and they work collectively to try and solve today's biggest problems. So whether that's our working with the child advocacy centers and Luna to support them and working across the country, whether it's working with Hull Homes in trauma and developmental trauma, or working with Woods Homes in our Woods Homes chair, really trying to ensure that we're training people in a good way to do really good practice. And also things like the distress center work we're doing with the hub there, with our new Center for Transformation that we have to try and transform the family justice system. And that's our biggest project that's just happened lately, and we're very excited about working across government, other universities all across Alberta, with public and organizations to see how we can follow those that are working in the family justice system and those kids and families that have to enter the family justice system, whether it's child intervention, family violence, or divorce, separation, how that we can do that in a way that kids aren't provided with the toxic stress, that they're actually being regarded as real people with the families that they're in with, thinking about family well-being. So trying to create a less adversarial system there. So that's what social workers do. We move across systems, we try and integrate systems, we integrate health, justice, education, social services, child intervention, thinking about how we can work as social workers to make sure people work through those systems in effective ways. So.
Thank you so much, Ellen. And I believe social work is getting more integrated. Could you give us some examples of what are some other departments within University of Calgary that you collaborate with?
Well, as you said, we've got social workers that work as family justice navigators. They work in accounting firms helping with social development goals. We have social workers that work in government, in family practice. They do their own family counseling.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of overlap with other disciplines. We work closely with every discipline at the University of Calgary, whether it's computer engineering, whether it's quantum mechanics, whether it's law, kinesiology, social work works with all the faculties.
Yeah.
Particularly, we've got some real close partnerships with the Cummings School of Medicine, with Workland School of Education, with the Faculty of Nursing, and with the Faculty of Arts, Science, Vet Med. We've got quite a few partnerships that we have developed, trying to really work at the high level of those complex issues across different faculties.
That's really exciting. You talked about collaboration with the computer technology.
Yes, so
how does that look like?
Well, we have a few of our faculty members who are really interested in access to services and so developing applications. So on your phone, how do you find services, maybe social services, or how do youth really focus in on mental health and have that right on their phone? And so people will be helping us in other departments in computing sciences develop those applications.
And it's interesting. As we work in this field, there are lots of ideas coming to our mind, but we don't know how to access those. It's good to have those youth engaged.
And we're developing new knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can build that out into and mobilize that knowledge into something people have on their phone, whether youth can have more access to really data-informed knowledge around mental health, or how do they thrive, how do they communicate better, how do they deepen their relationships in good ways, and so how do we really do that social work process and think about how we intervene at a whole societal level.
Wow.
Yeah. We have a lot going on in the community as well. We've got a professional development program that's really doing well. And so we've got a nonprofit leadership training program. And there's a lot of folks from grassroots communities. I was at the convocation on Friday, and it was astounding the number of people who went from one person being a volunteer doing grassroots work in community to now being incorporated as a nonprofit organization, all within the year of that program participation. So it's pretty astounding what strength we can build. We've been developing brand new curriculum. Because we know students need more relevant education right now. They need to learn how to facilitate really difficult conversations and facilitate and convene more discussions so people can share different points of view. So we're training students more in that. We're training students more in futures literacy and how they actually think about where our context is leading us so that we can be prepared for whether it's disaster relief or ensuring that kids grow up well developmentally. We're really aiming to honor diverse ways of knowing, and part of that is how do we keep up with the AI and how that's going to transform our social service system and students. So we're really thinking about how we can do that in ethical ways and incorporate AI into social work practice ethically and in good ways. And that fits with our real desire to indigenize what we do here and have our students leave with the ability to understand Indigenous peoples and their way of knowing and being and doing and relating, and be able to ensure that we're not causing any more harm from the harms that we've caused in the past. Not only to Indigenous peoples, but to equity deserving groups and others. We are focused so much on social justice and ensuring people can have equitable and inclusive experiences in civil society. So there's a lot to train our social work students in so that they're ready for practice when they're out with their degree. We are incorporating anti-oppressive practice and anti-racism training, critical race theory, other kinds of ways and frameworks of looking at how we become more equitable as a society, and teaching people in the specific day-to-day. And really that focuses in on the personal experience of the student to start. So a lot of our students find it very discomforting to know that their focus for their program is on themselves and how they can create change and transform the world through how they transform themselves. And that means really taking an anti-oppressive lens, unpacking the kinds of things that hold us back in terms of biased beliefs and mindsets, and thinking about how we can expand and think more in terms of humanity and all the kinds of values that we really focus on in our behavior in social work.
So what advice would you give to the new students?
Well, I think be ready for a bit of pain and internal introspection. I often tell students that you're learning when it's a little bit painful. Students will always say, I want to feel safe in the classroom. And sometimes, it's not a safe space because you need to be challenged. You need to hear other points of view, have your own mindset challenged and explore. Have that critical thinking go on at the same time as you're still within your whole being. You're working with your heart and your soul and your body and your mind and your spirit and making sure that your whole being is there. So it's a challenge to be in social work. We find that people that come in from other faculties where they've been doing papers for 4 years, and they come into this whole different way of assessment where it's presentations and journaling and practicum and sorting out your behaviors and the impacts on others and how do you create positive change. It's not a lot of the theoretical. We do have theoretical frameworks that you need to learn, but it is a self-exploration and discovery.
As you mentioned, that social work is more a focus on ourselves. What I understand from psychologists is this learning about others' behaviors, but social work is more knowing about yourself, right?
Yeah, so it's taking other paradigms and looking at systems. So the difference between psychology and social work is that we will take a look at the larger context. We'll take a look at the early childhood development. We'll take a look at how they all interact in the context of our environment. Whereas psychology tends to focus a bit more, not always, on the science of thinking, cognitive processes, how people relate in behavioral ways, and breaks them apart into smaller pieces. Whereas social work, we're really trying to hold the big picture and see all aspects so that we can move forward in complete and holistic ways. Well, I started off from high school thinking I wanted to be an economist. And then I went to school and I did a bachelor's degree in sociology and I did a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I still wasn't quite what I wanted. So then I left university and I went out into northern BC and I worked as a child welfare worker, and I thought, this is getting close to what I like doing or what my purpose is. And then I came back and I was working at the distress center in Calgary for about 10 years, and I found that that was the kinds of things I loved doing, and the people there were mostly social workers, and then I thought, I need a social work degree. So then I went back, and that was before our foundation master's program, so I had to do a third Bachelor of Social Work and then a master's.
Third bachelor.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but once you find your purpose and path, I think it becomes quite easy from there. Well, I think if students come to our program, they need to know it's fairly competitive. It's often many applications that we can only pick one or two to come into the program. And if they can just be really prepared with an awareness that they need to keep open, they need to listen, they need to be focused on learning how that they can be the tool that supports the rest of society and in moving forward in good ways. And that means developing a lot of understanding of others, of self, and all the ways that we need to create a good humanity.
Thank you so much, Ellen.
Thank
It was
you.
lovely talking to you. Thank you for joining me in this conversation with the Dean of the Faculty of Social Work. In the next video, I will take you along as we tour the faculty space and see what the student environment looks like. Stay tuned.